welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Experto Willie.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind of for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you as usual. Of course, we're going to have a great show. Anyhow, welcome aboard, Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. That's upstate New York. We also have in the house Lee Grant. Hey, y'all. Lee Grant says from Montgomery County. Eric Hayes in the house from King Guanatascasita. We also have in the house the one and only Paul Fleming Sr. from Powder Springs, Georgia. In the house is Michael Rutnan from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, Michael Rutnan. Let's go ahead and get started. Michael says, Egberto, you seen Trump's latest rally in Nevada where we was talking some Nazi shit? It's probably going to be overshadowed by the second attempt, but Reuters, Trump said on Friday in Las Vegas, I am angry about illegal Haitian migrants taking over Springfield, Ohio. You see that mess, don't you? I am angry about young American girls being raped and murdered by savage criminal aliens that come into our country. Yep, yep, yep. He's out there saying a whole lot of things. Michael continues, Egberto, I don't want to post his name. Just call him the person who who attempted to fire that thing. So tired of Trump getting news coverage, but sometimes that's the way it goes in PR. Here is everything we know about the apparent attempt on Trump. He's a former Trump voter and supporter of Ukraine. Spent much of his adult in North Carolina before moving to Hawaii in 2018. Owns a business that builds portable storage units and tiny homes in Oahu. His digital footprint depicts Ralph as a disillusioned former Trump supporter who backs Ukraine in its war against Russia. Has He has an extended criminal history, including a conviction on a felony charge of possessing a weapon of mass destruction in 2002, reportedly related to a full automatic machine gun. Public records list him as the defendant in multiple court cases on matters for bad checks to tax delinquencies between 2001 and 2010. He was also charged with numerous misdemeanors. Yep, he seems like he's right up the. He seems like he could be a kinfolk of Trump. They both like to have a commonality with the legal system. In other words, they are both thugs. So, I mean, one thug after another thug. It's just amazing, right? Anyhow, continuing what we got here, Paul Fleming says crypto companies are spending $800,000 a day to try to take out Ohio U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown. I don't think they're going to make it. Sherrod Brown has stayed in power, and people know Sherrod Brown. And what I think Sherrod Brown needs to start doing is calling out the crypto companies, because the crypto companies are nothing more than the same thing as the gold bullion companies and all these guys. They're a farce. Anyhow, continuing. Let's see what else we got here. Increased demand of metals and minerals needed for clean energy transition puts 4,000 species at risk. There we go again. At risk, it finds study. Yeah, right, right. Of course, all these studies. You know what they do, right? They create studies to try to debunk things that would make the world safer. They create studies to try to say green energy is not going to work, so let's keep destroying the earth. Look, you can bring any one of these studies, Eric. They're simply wrong, and they're paid for by the industry. So you can spend your time, my dear brother, put in the crap somewhere else because it won't be read here. Just like the false crime statistics that you have on the screen, we won't take that seriously because we know what the absolute numbers are. All right, let's see what else we got. Michael Ruddin says, replying to Fleming, this is the same group that took out Katie Porter during the California Democratic Senate primary. Fear Shake spent over 10 million against her campaign, apparently because she had a temerity to question the energy uses of the industry, which is ridiculous. Let me tell you something about that, right? There's this thing called blockchain that cryptocurrency used to manage its books, right? And the way cryptocurrency works is there's an algorithm to go out there and do what they call mining these codes. You are mining a cryptocurrency. It's like you mine gold. It's just an algorithm, okay? It's a farce because just like the paper dollar is based on nothing, cryptocurrency is based on nothing. It is just a whole bunch of people decided that they're going to get together, create an algorithm. Well, actually, it was a Japanese guy, if I remember correctly. Create an algorithm that computers use to find. They call it mining these tokens. When they find the right number combination, that becomes a new token and it has value. So you mine a token and you are able to capitalize on that, and then folks can trade tokens. There is no magical thing that makes cryptocurrency money any better than it makes a dollar money. All the mining does is it creates a false scarcity of some entity used to exchange value of product and services into a temporary state. They don't tell you that. They make it look like cryptocurrency. A lot of people made millions because people don't know what the hell they're talking about. Cryptocurrency is a farce. Anybody wants to argue that with me? Give me a call. It's a farce. All right, let's continue. But yeah, it's worth billions. Just like Trump's just like Trump's website, Truth Social, it's worth billions, doesn't do a damn thing. It doesn't even create money from ads that are worthwhile to make it value the billions that it has. Like I said, capitalism is a fraud. Bernie Sanders nailed it. The basic model or the basic tenet of capitalism, Wall Street, is fraud, legal fraud. Remember that, folks. I hope you remember that. All right, Steigen Burger Green, welcome aboard. Why can't we get someone competent on the job? We can. We can. We just have to be the ones electing them appropriately, Steigen. We got to do our work. All right, Bridge, Lee, a liar, Christopher Rufo, American activist against critical race theory. Christopher Rufus is an American conservative activist, New College of Florida board member. He screwed that college. Everybody's gone. And seeing everybody that matters are gone from that college now. And senior fellow at Manhattan Institute for Policy Research. He is an opponent of critical race theory, which he says has pervaded every aspect of the federal government and poses an existential threat to the United States. He's a liar, not only that, right? He said it doesn't matter if it's true or not, just throw it out there. That's what he said. I heard him say it. These guys are completely horrendous. Paul Fleming Sr. says before Trump, Ford survived 2 assassination attempts in 3 weeks. California month of terror, Los Angeles Times. That is true, and so did Reagan. So did several presidents. All of them have at some state gotten that. But the people who have attempted with Trump have been some pretty interesting folks, right? It's interesting because they all use guns that we want removed from circulation because they're dangerous, they're weapons of wars. And I find it ironic that the things we are trying to save the country from is what was used in these people's attempt. So, what can I say? There's something called poetic justice, maybe. Michael Rudden says Steigen, Trump deserves a prison sentence for his 34 conditions. Exactly. Exactly. Not the other thing. You're right for that, Michael Rudden. That's how I feel as well. Bruce Pollard is in the house. He said, Good Monday. Do you want to discuss email scams asking for political support donations? Sure. You want to give me a call on that? That's fine. Paul Fleming says, Whether it's anti Semitism, xenophobia, racism, or transphobia, the right seeks to manufacture fears of the other to distract from where all the wealth and power have gone, all the way to the top. Now, truth, and stand united against hate and division. Let's do that. Bruce Pollard, Lee Grant says that important voice in the marketplace of ideas. Nope, 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 nope. I'm sorry. Christopher Rufo is an anti intellectual that promotes lies and corrupts people's minds and make people stupid. I cannot add that to the marketplace of ideas. I can add that to the marketplace of fiction and maybe hate speech. All right, we got Bruce Pollard says, lower your carbon footprint, eat less beef. I agree. I eat a little bit of beef, if any. When was the last time I had beef? Well, Ashley made a hell of a meatball, but it seemed like it was more seasoning than beef, and it was so good. All right, let's see. Carl Cox says JD Vance works for the lying, sleazy liar and thief Trump. Yep, 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 yep. Egberto Willie, scroll back and read my comment on Asians, please. Why do you keep hiding your comments from me, Bridge MCP? I don't see your comments on Asians. I just read the one on critical race theory. Where is the one that you wrote on Haitians, Bridge? Are you sure it made it to all the chats? Because I am looking for it. Let's see. I don't see it yet. Maybe it'll come in the scroll. Put it in again. All right. Michael Rudnin says, what are the cryptocurrencies actually doing when they're using that much CPU energy? It's a hell of a lot of power usage. And for what? Collecting tokens. There's got to be something else they're doing. No, no, it's collecting tokens. All these people have computer systems that are just running 24/7 mining tokens. They may get one every 30 days. I don't know how long. That's one part of it. The other part of it is the blockchain. The blockchain is how do you validate one token? One computer goes ahead and it updates a record, and several records and hundreds, thousands of computers have to corroborate the balance sheet of the tokens. It's a ridiculously complicated in your mind, or rather in the minds of the computer system. Look, it's one of the biggest technical forces out there. Okay, it's one of the biggest technical forces out there. All right, let's see. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. How you doing, Melanie? Steigen Burger Creek says, let's see, bear with me a second, folks. Bear with me a second as I check something here real quick. It seems like I must check something here real quick. So I am. So bear with me. Anyhow, yeah, let's go ahead and say that Bergen Creek. Getting back to what I'm doing. Okay. Michael Rudnan says, Stagan, how do you see MMT and crypto as similar? No, 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 no. MMT has nothing to do with crypto. There are two different things altogether. MMT, modern monetary theory, is it's an economic system. Let's talk about Keynesian economics, just like we can talk about modern monetary theory. Completely different. We got to understand that. Don't let anybody try to tell you that somehow there is some similarity there. There is absolutely no similarity between modern monetary and cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is an imaginary thing. Modern monetary theory is a real thing. It's an absolutely real thing. All right, let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. I tell you what, folks, before I continue reading, and Bridge, I hope you'll put that. Okay, let's go ahead and bring Bruce into the conversation. Hey, Bruce, what's going on?
Hey, Egberto, I just thought I'd call because it was an interesting thing. During the debate, I got a whole bunch of emails from different groups of people that claim to be supporting both Mr. Trump and Kamala to collect money, and they were clearly false.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's interesting that people are putting emails out trying to get money for people, and it's impossible or difficult to tell who's really where to give the money that it's really going to go to. So they're trying to get little bits of money and take money. So it's not nice.
I am glad that you said that. We have to be aware. That's why I tell people to know who they're giving to, whether it's be blue. What is it? There's a standard.
Act Blue. Is it Act Blue?
Act Blue. You can always feel safe given to Act Blue because there's some rigor that you get if the person collecting the money
and you can say
Blue.
You can say who it's bound for in that Act Blue thing that isn't in any place. Yeah, I know. I'm going to see Beto down at the University of Houston in a while. I'm gonna see if I actually get to talk to him about doing something about that, because he's a far enough off to one edge that maybe he could start looking into that a little bit.
Yeah, he does some good work. But let me ask the people that are listening to Bruce that can hear Bruce. Do you guys hear Bruce with an echo? Just want to make sure that it's not the case. Anyway, because I've been doing some rewiring so that I can remember I was having problems playing the videos from YouTube. I think I can do it now without a problem. So when we have to, we will. But anything else, Brother Bruce, before I go to my video?
Oh, I was just going to say interesting blockchain talk. So that's public key, private key. You find a set of those and use those. But people use their graphics processors to do those. And I have a friend that collected a whole bunch for Bitcoin, and actually he did make money, but I don't think he's not making money anymore. But,
how many Bitcoins did he find? Did he mine? Because usually in 30 days, if you get one Bitcoin, you're lucky. But one Bitcoin is worth a lot.
Yeah, he back when he was doing it, he probably found about 1,000.
He found how many?
So it was early, and 1,000. He had a computer with 8 graphics processors running in each one of his rooms, and he used that to heat his house one winter. And at the same time, they mined Bitcoin for him.
Well, it's interesting.
And this
because
was early on.
He's a multimillionaire then.
Well, it's $1 million worth. It was about $1 million worth of stuff. Once it, it wasn't worth that much when he was mining it, and he sold a bunch early on.
Oh,
but now
so
that
he
it's
sold
worth
early.
More.
Yeah, because I think each Bitcoin is worth several $100,000 now or something like that. I don't remember what the value is.
No. Well, I don't think it's quite that much, but they're worth a lot. But But originally they're only worth first a few hundred, then a few thousand, and I think he sold most of them then because he had a company in another part of the world, and he funded the company, the startup company with Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, right? Because a piece of paper money, you have the paper money, and it takes no energy requirements or anything, and it's backed by the faith of the United States government. You go ahead and talk about Bitcoins. Just managing Bitcoins takes a whole lot of energy. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, well, your comparison with Mr. Trump's website is a good example. That everybody bought into it for some. I hate to say, but it's a religious investment, right?
Exactly. So I mean, it's important for us to
carry on.
Thank you very much for your call, Bruce. As
Everybody
usual, great stuff. Oh man, I cut you off kind of early. Sorry about that, buddy. Sorry about that. Okay, the echo is because of the way I programmed this thing. I need to take off the monitor later on. Anyhow, folks, look, let me tell you, I have several videos to play today, and I have to leave for sure at about 54 because I have an interview with Tom Hartman that I'm going to be bringing you guys this week. So before that, I want to read Bridget's comment on the Haitians, if I can find it. She says, Bridge MCP can't put again as it scrolls at 404 mark. All right, let me go ahead and go up to the beginning. If you said it's at 404, it should be near the top. I'm looking for it, Bridge, because I want to make sure that I got it. I'm going through each of these items to find your piece, Miss. Okay, Berto, scroll back and read my comment on Ohio Asians, please. Okay, I don't think, you know what, Bridge? Honestly, it hadn't come over to my system because the first message I got from you is, hey, peeps. The second message I got from you is, your messages are coming from YouTube. The second messages I got from you is, Egberto, scroll back and read my comment. So I never actually got it in my multi-feed here. Let's see if I see it in the other feed. I'm going to go up to the YouTube feed and see if it's in another feed, and then I got to go to the video. Let's see. I have the entire feed in YouTube here, and I am not seeing my beautiful there, Bridge. I am not seeing at 404. I'm not seeing anything. For some reason, it's not there. Again, if you can, I know you can't copy paste it, but if you can go ahead and write it out, and we'll do it. But let me get to Chuck Pennacchio, and then we'll come back to it. Here we go to Chuck Pennacchio about state healthcare.
Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today, I'm honored to bring to our program again a very special person, Chuck, and I'm going to say it correctly, Chuck Pennacchio, good friend of mine, the guy I call a brother from another mother. How you doing, my friend?
Egberto, really doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, great. Look, Chuck, you've been working so hard in the field of healthcare, bringing a single-payer healthcare for all. In your case, you understand that it has to be done currently, hopefully later differently, but currently state by state. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the project of OnePayerStates?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I've been doing this political work since I was 13. I'm now 64, coming up on Medicare this fall. And I got involved in many different issue areas, ran for U.S. Senate, and then landed on healthcare. After that Senate race, we put together a statewide organization in Pennsylvania. And then realizing politically the way to get this done was to study the economics of healthcare. So that really is what is important to understand about how we're going to get this done politically. We have to make the economic argument, the business argument, and let people know that they're being taxed through ways they don't even realize and paying for healthcare.
Exactly.
So how is it going to work? This is similar to how Canada was able to get to national healthcare through one province, Saskatchewan.
Was this Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan,
okay.
right, in the 1960s. And right now our leading states are California, Oregon, Washington, Minnesota, New York, Massachusetts, and Maine.
Right.
And they all have slightly different approaches. Oregon is leading the way. They've just instituted their governing board. And once we're able to model that effectively, it'll prove the point.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
No. I'm saying once you show that it works, and they usually call the states the laboratory, right?
Absolutely.
What is it? The laboratory of democracy, or the laboratory? Many other kinds of laboratory. We use it as the states as a laboratory. We can then expand it out to the entire country,
Absolutely.
And that is what we're doing.
Absolutely, and really, almost all significant national social justice, economic justice, political justice, racial justice issues started at the state level. Voting rights, child labor laws, all that stuff started at the state level. And you know this history, your audience, most of them know it, but the progressive era started in Milwaukee.
Yes.
And then it went statewide to Wisconsin, and then it went national with Teddy Roosevelt. But those ideas that Teddy Roosevelt and then later Franklin Roosevelt implemented were all modeled at the state and at the local and state level first.
Right.
Franklin Roosevelt's programs were modeled in Albany, New York, and they went national when he becomes president. So this is the way that the history and our Constitution are designed to get us reform, is through state modeling, and that's in fact the way most of this stuff works.
Let me tell you, Chuck, because I believe in the promotion of anything that's going to move us forward in healthcare. And one of the things I think that we have to do as proponents for a universal healthcare system is that we have to give, there are several organizations working on this.
Absolutely.
We have to give all these organizations the freedom to try to do it as they are able to do so. That is what we have to do. We have to be able to do that. I have been pushing One State in many different platforms, and I can say that I have gotten sometimes within the progressive movement some pushback because you and your organization have taken a pragmatic approach to say, let's do it where we can right now to simply help people.
Right.
How can you best express to those who are tunnel visioned in a lot of ways and saying we have to go ahead and do it on an entire country basis or nothing?
Well, first off, I would say that people who represent themselves as progressives are not understanding the progressive era movement, which in fact was a municipal and state-based movement.
Exactly.
That was the progressive era.
Right.
And as well, progressivism, the idea of progressivism is, as you said, to work together with people.
Exactly.
This whole circular firing squad and shooting people because they're not doing it exactly the way that you want. So there's this sort of ideological purity that's holding people back as well. And it's ignoring our history, which I just touched on with the progressive era, the New Deal era, the Great Society. All of those programs were modeled at the state and local level. So how do you ignore our history? How do you ignore our Constitution? And how do you ignore the money that's arrayed in Washington, D.C. against any significant national change, especially in healthcare?
Right.
It's ignoring the medical industrial complex, right? The big four, I call them the four horsemen from hell. The four horsemen from hell: pharmaceuticals, big hospitals, big insurance, and the big manufacturers of medical equipment. They buy politicians.
Right.
So right now, I love Pramila Jayapal. She carried our bill before then handing it off to Ro Khanna.
Right.
Jayapal is carrying the National Medicare for All bill. That bill has 112 sponsors. That's just over half of the Democratic caucus.
Right.
No Republicans, and a lot of Democrats are not going to sign on because they're wedded to money that they're taking from the medical industry.
Right.
So what they see, the way forward and the way that we're targeting our message, is that we can get those centrist Democrats by telling them, in fact, that our legislation, this is the Ro Khanna legislation,
right,
that Ed Markey will be introducing shortly in the Senate.
Right.
It's called the State-Based Universal Healthcare Act.
Right.
State-Based Universal Healthcare Act. HR 6270.
Right.
It's got a number in the House, HR 6270. When Markey introduces it, it'll have a Senate bill. But that legislation is designed actually to expand on the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
So for a lot of centrist Democrats, they're okay with expanding on the Affordable Care Act.
And what it's going to do is, in effect, it's going to create universal health care in states who want it.
Absolutely.
And then I don't want to use the word the jealousy, but when other states see, well, my God, how is it that this state can provide all of its citizens care? We want it too. And as more adapted, you get it. But the thing about it is we have to start somewhere. We can't just, and you know, that is why I push so hard when we get the pushback. Well, you know, it's either all or nothing, because if you get some, you won't get the rest. Well, you know what? If Oregon and California, and California sort of failed us because they backed off, but if we get all these other states to do it, and there are Texas and Mississippi and Louisiana decide that they want to continue murdering their people, let them, and then we can keep. And when I say let them, I don't say let them in a facetious negative manner. I mean, let the politicians try, because if the people would eventually have their heads.
Right. Well, I think that this is also a way of shaming them, like proving that we can cover all citizens within these model states.
Exactly. If we believe in the concept,
absolutely.
If we believe in the concept of universal health care, and we get it to work in Oregon, if we get it to work in Washington, if we get it to work in Maine, and what's the fourth one?
New York.
And New York. If we get it working there, we would have gotten it into a partially rural state, an urban state, a multi-state in Oregon. I mean, we would have proved that it could work everywhere.
Right. And not only is it designed to get all the healthcare people need from cradle to grave, but it also provides now the choice. You get to choose your doctor. You get to choose your hospital. Whereas right now, insurance companies
choose it for you.
Yep.
And that's the magic, right? The insurance companies are nothing more than a fraud. We all know that. And for those that are listening, I repeat, and I don't say this biting my tongue, every health insurance company is nothing but a fraudulent business. As Bernie would call it, he would call it a business based on fraud. Sir.
It's legal. Unfortunately. Yes. And they're doing their job. I mean, you stop and think about it.
Yes.
The CEOs of these companies, their job is to make their stockholders as much money as they possibly can.
And that's why it doesn't belong in healthcare.
Absolutely.
And that's why it doesn't belong in healthcare. So, Chuck, let me ask you this, because you are working extraordinarily hard, day and night, pushing this stuff. What is it that your organization needs to get to move to that other step?
Contact your U.S. representatives. Go onto our website and see where we are in terms of. We have 29 co-sponsors now in the House on HR 6270. That's the State-Based Universal Health Care. And then we're about to be introducing the Senate bill. Ed Markey will be introducing that. So contact both your U.S. senators. I don't care, Democrat, Republican, contact them and let them know that you want them to sign on as a co-sponsor, because this is a legislation that will enable the states, as you said, to model, to become the innovators, to become the incubators, to become the place where we can actually model solutions. And that's the beautiful thing. So contact your legislators in the U.S. House and in the U.S. Senate. Get these bills passed, and then encourage your state, if they're not already moving on it, get a legislator to introduce a Medicare for all, single-payer bill, universal health care bill at the state level. Now,
what should I have asked you that I didn't, or what would you like to say that we hadn't covered?
how are we going to win? How are you going to build enough power, political power? And that's to recognize that healthcare is at the intersection of all other social justice issues. What we call healthcare justice and health justice. So that's food, that's housing, that's policing, that's climate. You name it, it's war. It's all these issues that we've got to wrap our minds together and connect with one another and see each other as co-equals in this effort. So we all need to pull together. We call it transformational justice for all, universal transformational justice. And the Intergenerational Justice Summit work that we do brings younger people into the fight, diverse populations, Black, brown, LGBTQ communities, immigrants, into the fight, seeing each other as co-equals. We need to see each other as co-equals, that if you don't have a roof over your head, nothing else is going to matter. We need to help you get a roof over your head. If you don't have food on your table for you and your family, we have to make sure that food justice is part of the fight as well. So everybody pulling together, everybody wins together, everybody gets all their issues passed.
Chuck Pennacchio, your work is invaluable. Thank you for what you're doing. Please keep up the power, and whatever it is that we can do to make sure that your message is out there, remember we are here to serve.
Absolutely.
Thank you so kindly.
Pleasure. Thanks so much, Egberto.
Well, you know, I love Chuck. Chuck is a great guy. Chuck works his ass off. I want to also talk about Breach. What happened is your message came over the Facebook channel, and I was looking for the red sign for YouTube. And so let me read your message. Your message says, they made up the story about the Haitians because they need that senator. And look what they did to the town and the people. Sick. People, Haitians, share their work where they're there, and in upstate New York, they're not illegal. It's sad. When I talk about Trump and Vance being evil, that is the instantiation of evil. They've corrupted and created a complete commotion in that Springfield, Ohio. They should be ashamed. Only a worker of the devil could do such a thing. It's a shame. It's a shame. Okay, I'm scrolling down, guys. If I miss you, just tell me to scroll up or something. Let's see what else we got here before I get to the other video. Let's see. Bree says, please repeat the post you wanted Egberto to read. That was from Michael. I got it already. Bree, Egberto, you almost read it. Haha, but didn't. No big deal. They made up the story. I read it after all. I read it. All right, I'm scrolling down. Follow up, Mrs. Abortion bans reduce women's breeding stock. And that's exactly the point. Velshi. Ha. Let's see. Michael Radin says here, Handmaid's Tale in 1984 were warnings, not instruction manuals. Exactly. I imagine you're talking about 1984, the movie. Egberto, please screenshot. Okay, girl or woman. I will put that on the screen for you. There we go with the screen. Bridge wants me to put this on the screen. Don't like abortions? Ignore them like you do school should. Oh my God, Bridge. That was an interesting statement there. Ignore them, right? Oh my God. That was in fact funny. But you know what? As funny as that is, unfortunately, there is a lot of truth to that, right? There's so much truth to that statement. Wow. Okay, I got another video for you, then I'll continue reading, folks. But this is another important video, a short one, this one. Actually, I'm gonna do the longer one, 8 minutes first, and then we'll go to the other one. Here we go. And don't forget, I gotta get out of here a little bit early, about 6 minutes earlier. But let's go ahead and do that, and we'll do it right this minute. Journalist Dana Bash today really did a good thing. She still allowed JD Vance to get too much of his lies on our national airwaves. But I tell you what, we've got to admit that she really skewered him perfectly, so much so that she discombobulated the guy in such a manner that he confessed to creating stories before he realized that he had a Freudian slip and had to kind of correct for it. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side, because Dana Bash, for this one, she deserved kudos. To be clear, I chopped out a lot of his bloviating because I would not be a complicit to him misleading people, but I cut the necessary portions that showed exactly the lying, evil person that he is. Check this out, and we'll take it on the other side.
The mayor of Springfield, Ohio, Rob Rue, said, quote, all these federal politicians that have negatively spun our city, they need to know they're hurting our city. And it was their words that did it. Before Donald Trump talked about eating dogs and cats on a debate stage, it was you, Senator, who first elevated this baseless rumor. These are your constituents. So why are you putting them at risk by continuing to spread claims about Haitian immigrants, despite officials in your state saying that there's no evidence and pleading for you to stop?
Now, you ask, why have I talked about some of the things that I've been talking about? Let me just say this. My constituents have brought approximately a dozen separate concerns to me. 10 of them are verifiable and confirmable, and a couple of them I talk about because my constituents are telling me firsthand that they're seeing these things.
I have to go through several things that you just said. First of all, the Clark County Sheriff and the Ohio Department of Natural Resources reviewed 11 months of 911 calls. They only identified 2 instances of people alleging Haitians were taking geese out of parks. They found 0 evidence to substantiate those claims. Also, other evidence that you have talked about, even you've retweeted, alleged evidence, are unsourced social media videos from a different city, apparently no connection to Haitians. And this is from a conservative activist who offered a $5,000 reward for such things. And then going just backly to the schools and the hospitals and so forth being overwhelmed. Nobody is disputing that the town of Springfield, Ohio needs help. But you're not just a bystander. You're the senator from Ohio. So instead of saying things that are wrong and actually causing the hospitals, the schools, the government buildings to be evacuated because of bomb threats, because of the cats and dogs thing, why not actually be constructive in helping to better integrate them into the community? Because there are a lot of employers there who say that the Haitian workers are helping fill jobs that they need desperately filled.
I want to start with something you said, which I think is frankly disgusting and is more appropriate for a Democratic propagandist than it is for an American journalist. There is nothing that I have said that has led to threats against these hospitals. These hospitals, the bomb threats and so forth, it's disgusting. The violence is disgusting. We condemn it. We condemn all violence.
So this happened after you and Trump were on the debate stage, said that and dogs were being eaten.
You asked a question. You just accused me of inciting violence against the community when all that I've done is surface the complaints of my constituents.
Senator, it was your distraction.
Granted amnesty.
You were the one who started talking about eating dogs. You were the one who brought this to 60 people.
And I talked about it because you were ignoring this community. My constituents talked about it.
Have you been to Springfield?
It is my responsibility to surface their concerns when the American media
ignores it. Have you been to Springfield?
I've been to Springfield probably 100 times in my life.
How about recently,
I've taken my children
since
to
you've
get
heard
ice
this?
cream at Young's Jersey Dairy.
Have you heard recently since?
Have I been in the last 4 days?
No,
I
I'm
haven't
talking
been
about
in the last 4 days, but I've to a lot of
these
people
calls
in Springfield, and they're telling me this stuff is happening. So I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the question.
I am, and I think that if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were making unsubstantiated claims that had racist undertones about people eating dogs and cats, and they didn't answer the questions about that, then I would have similar interactions with them. As you know, I am very grateful that you come on the show, as I am for other Republicans. But this is something that you're hearing from constituents. I did a lot of reporting. I talked to people in Ohio over the weekend, and they're really worried about these claims. But there are other conversations that are happening, like Aiden Clark, who is an 11-year-old boy who was killed in Springfield last year. It was a car accident involving a Haitian immigrant. You said that he was murdered. His father said that's not true. It was an accident. Here's what he said to you.
Politicians, Bernie Moreno, Chip Roy, JD Vance, and Donald Trump, they have spoken my son's name and used his death for political gain. This needs to stop now. They are not allowed, nor have they ever been allowed to mention Aiden Clark from Springfield, Ohio. I will listen to them one more time to hear their apologies.
Senator, he's asking for you to apologize. Will you?
First of all, my heart goes out to the Clark family, and I don't bring their son's name up because they've clearly expressed a preference for politicians to not bring their son's name up. I wish them all the best. I can't believe what kind of a tragedy they've experienced, but I'm still going to keep on talking about what the migrants have done to Springfield, Ohio.
Just once and for all, you again started this in part by saying that, at which Donald Trump repeated on the debate stage, that, and he didn't say anything about the policies that you're talking about. He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the firsthand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
but it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
Or you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not
We are
accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it.
Dana Bash did it. She had him with that Freudian slip. We created the stories because you, the media, was not carrying the stories away. We wanted you to lie about them. And since you weren't going to lie about the story, we're going to create the story, put it in there, and then you're going to have to cover it. And she caught him. She caught the Freudian slip. And you know what? From now on, we all have to remember that they created these stories. You know, I mean, suppose there's one or two or a nugget of truth to it. Doesn't matter. They created the story.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand.
Yep, they created the story, and they, you know, it's called a Freudian slip. A Freudian slip. All right, Bridge wants this on the screen. It says, how do I read this? I need a Democrat in Congress to propose the Save Donald Trump's Life's gun reform bill so that Republicans either have to pass it or go on record that they don't care about protecting Donald Trump. I think that's, that's an interesting way of saying it, right? That, I bet Donald Trump would tell them, go pass that bill. It's important to pass that bill. It has my name on it, first of all. Anyway, Egberto, looking forward to interview with Tom Hartman. Don't be late. I won't be late. I've got about 5 minutes, and this other thing is very short. So I'm going to play this real quick, and then we're going to have to shut this baby down. So let's go ahead and play this last video. I think it's a short one. I was very disappointed with several of the morning shows who gave JD Vance and other Republican commentators leeway to go ahead and use our airwaves to outrightly lie to the American people. But within some of the bad journalism, some parts of it turned out to be fairly well. Again, I want you to listen to what Kristen Welker did with JD Vance, even as she allowed too much of his lies to get through. This part, I think, has an important instance because it shows him as a chameleon, something that, in other words, he's trying to have it both ways. And this is likely just a career move. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Let me just ask you, though, in October of 2016, you said this, quote, Trump makes people I care about afraid, immigrants, Muslims, etc. Because of this, I find him reprehensible. God wants better of us. This week in Springfield, buildings were closed because of bomb threats. Haitian immigrants say they are afraid for their lives. Are you now doing the very thing you once called reprehensible, Senator?
Well, first of all, Kristen, we condemn all acts of violence and all threats of violence. But Kristen, the reason that I changed my mind on Donald Trump is actually perfectly highlighted by what's going on in Springfield.
Now, JD Vance says, as I learn more about Trump and I see things, I see that I was probably wrong for saying that what I found Donald Trump to do is reprehensible. If what he did then was reprehensible, what JD Vance is doing today is reprehensible, because he knows that even if what they said were true, let's say there were a few people that were eating dogs and cats and geese. There's no evidence of it, but let's say it was true. That would have been 1 or 2 or 3 people, but in the way that he's couched the argument, is that he's accusing every immigrant of doing things, bad things in a community. I mean, that is equivalent to saying if somebody of any particular ethnicity or whatever did something wrong, you blanket the entire society with it. Well, do you really want to take that option up? In fact, from the inception of our country, do you really want to start casting what people who came into this country without papers have done to others? Be careful. As one points a finger, there are 4 others pointing back.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little...
All right, let me read 2 of Vrij's and real quick. The woman behind early Facebook post spreading a harmful and baseless claim about Haitian immigrants eating local pets that helped thrust a small Ohio city into the national spotlight says she had no firsthand knowledge of any such incident and is now filled with regret and fear as a result of ensuing fallout. It just exploded into something I didn't mean to happen, Erica Lee, a Springfield resident, told NBC News on Friday. Egberto, let's see, the woman behind the earliest... Okay, I just read that, right? Yeah, that's what I read. Paul Fleming says, this is the CFPB doing what the CFPB does best, holding cheaters accountable. For 20 years, I've called out Navient abuses of borrowers, and now they will pay $100 million in relief of the people they hurt on top of $20 million fine. All right, Vrij, let's see. Troy Astro says, does Agent Orange know Springfield exists? Don't know. All right, let's see what else we got. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. I got to go interview Tom Hartman now. I'll probably bring that to you tomorrow or the next day. But anyhow, folks, let me see. My name is Ike. Thank you for being here. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and subscribe to our newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.